Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Programming Knowledge. So in this video we will learn how to create this particular website. So we have this nice looking responsive website, and we have different sections like about the site itself, services, services offered, and a portfolio. Okay, and then call to action, and of course this contact information or contact form. And then if we try to click on this buttons or the menus at the top, we could see that the page scroll to that particular area. So about, and then services, portfolio, contact, and we have the footer at the bottom. And then if you try to click on this uh, text or the logo, you could actually navigate to the top of the page. So in this particular video, we will be learning how to create this, all the necessary files, all the necessary structure, or all the necessary tags that needed to build this particular website. And if you can see, this is a responsive website. Okay, so if you try to resize this, okay, you can see that the elements will uh, try to fit with the window size. Okay, and then if you try to click on this mobile devices, then we can see how our website will look in our, so for example, mobile phone, tablet, and so on. So we have we can also click on this hamburger icon and see the menu for our website, and then we could click on that particular item and then move to that particular area in our page. We could also try to select devices, say for example Galaxy S5, iPhone 5, SE, so you can see what the website will look into this particular website. So iPhone 6, okay, iPad Pro, and then you can see that it is very responsive, and it will look good whatever device that we select or whatever device we're using. So if you want to learn how to build this particular website, just follow along with this tutorial, and I will guide you through all the steps necessary to build this nice looking responsive website using Bootstrap. Now let us see how the project is being set up, and let's go to our code editor. So in this particular project, I am using the Atom code editor, which is a very nice free open source editor for your different projects. So in here we have the basic setup of our project. We have the CSS, we have the images, okay, and we also have the JavaScript files, and then we also have the vendor folder, which also includes Bootstrap, Font Awesome, jQuery, and Magnific Pop-up. To save you a lot of time configuring the setup for this particular project, we will be providing a link that will enable you to download the starter files for this particular website. And if you haven't downloaded the starter files yet, go ahead and download the files so that you'll be ready and you can follow along with this particular tutorial. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to discuss is the structure or the basic structure of this index.html. So we have the standard doc type HTML, and we have the language as English. Then we have the head tag, and we set the character set to the standard UTF-8 or UTF-8. And then we also set the meta name viewport, and we also set the meta name for description and empty for the content. We have also set the author and then content you can go ahead and type in your content for this particular meta tab. And then the next one we have the title, which is programming knowledge, and then home. The next one is to include the font awesome icons, and we have this in our vendor directory. So we have the font awesome free. The next one is to include the Google fonts, which is the Meriwether Sans, and we also included the other variation for this particular font. The next one is to include the plugin CSS. So we have this magnific pop-up CSS included in our file. Then next we have included our own style sheet, which is coming from the creative.css file inside the CSS directory. Then that's the end of our head tag. And then for this particular body tag, we have added the ID page dash tab, and then we're gonna use this ID later on. So I have added different sections: the section for navigation, the masthead, the section for about, and then services section. All the necessary code for our services section will go here, and for our portfolio will be here, call to action here, and contact section, and so on. And then at the end of our file, we have included different JavaScript files. We have the jQuery or the minified jQuery version. We also included the Bootstrap bundle minified version .js, and also we included the plugin JavaScript for easing or jQuery easing minified.js. The other one is the magnific pop-up jQuery minified version also. And last but not the least is our JavaScript or creative, our very own creative.js. So we're just gonna modify this JavaScript file later on. And then that's the end of our body tag and also our HTML tag. And now we're going to start modifying our index.html. The first thing that we're going to need is to edit the navigation or add the navigation to our website. So the first tag that we'll be adding will be the nav. And we'll just add the ID for this, which is main nav. Okay. And then for this particular element, we'll be defining the classes for this. The first one is Navbar. Okay. The second is Navbar dash expand and then large. And then also we have the nav then light or Navbar light. And this navigation should be fixed on top. And then we're just gonna add padding for this, which is pi or py-3, which means that we need to set the padding for y-axis. Okay. So inside this tag, we need to add div with a class container. So div, and then it should have the class container. And then we're gonna add a link, and then the target for this will be the page top or the body with the ID page top. So every time we click on this link, it should move the page to the top of our body or top of our page. Okay. So in this particular link, we need to add classes also. So class, and then we're gonna define navbar brand, and another class will be js dash scroll trigger. And then inside this, we need to add the name for this particular website. For my case, it's Programming Knowledge. Okay. So in your case, maybe different. You can use whatever name you want. So in the previous tutorial, we have learned how to set up this project. We also included different files, the CSS, the images, the JavaScript, and all other dependencies. So if you haven't checked out the first part of this video tutorial series, please go ahead so that you can follow along with this tutorial. So in this lecture, we're going to modify the index.html, and we will be adding different elements to this particular page. So right below this link, we will be adding a button. So button with the type button. So let's just remove the name for now and define our classes for this particular button. So class, and of course we need the navbar toggler, and of course navbar toggler right, and of course we need also to have the data toggle for this. So lapse, and data target will be the uh, nav bar responsive, and then we will be defining this div later on or below this line. We need to set also the area expanded false to false, and uh, area controls. This will be controlling also the nav bar responsive div. And of course, the label for this is area label, and this will be toggle navigation. So inside this button, we need to add a span element that will be holding the icon for our toggle button. So this will be class, and then of course nav bar toggler icon. Okay, there you go. Then after that one, we need to set a div right below this button. So div, and then with the class collapse, and of course the nav bar collapse, and this has the ID of the nav bar responsive. And inside this div, we need to add the elements for our menus. So an ordered list with list items, and of course our unordered list will have the class of nav bar, and then nav and ml auto. This is specific from the Bootstrap. So auto and my-2 my large or lg-0. This has something to do with spacing with our elements. So this means margin left auto and margin top and bottom with the size 2. Okay, and then we need to add class for our list item. This will be nav dash item, and inside this list item we need to add the link. The first item will be the about section, so this should target the about section, so by using the number sign and then about, and of course we need to add classes for this. So class will be nav link, and of course JS scroll trigger. So whenever we click on this item, it should trigger a scroll to the particular area of about section. Okay, and then we'll just have to copy and paste this. So services portfolio and contact areas. So again, services, this will be portfolio, portfolio, okay, and then the last one will be the contact section of the site. And of course, we need to set this also for the services section, and this one also for portfolio, okay, portfolio, and then of course the contact section. Okay, there you go. Okay, so after that we need to add the header for our page. So header, and then this should have the class masthead with small m, and of course this has to be, or this has to have the div with class container and h100. Next is to add another div inside this container div with a lot of classes such as row h100, and then we need to align the items to center, and then justify content center, and yes, text center. Next is to add another div with, of course, a lot of classes in it. So column large 10 and align self and so again, these classes are specific from Bootstrap. So if you want to know more about these classes, you might want to check the Bootstrap website for the documentation for these classes. Okay, and we need to add an h1 element. So this has to have the class text uppercase, and then the color is white and font weight is bold. So this should contain your favorite with bigger F source of free tutorials or video tutorials. Okay, and then below this line we need to add a divider or HR class or HR element with class divider, and of course we need to add the spacing class, which is margin top and bottom with a size 4. Then right after this element, this div class or div element, we need to add another div with a lot of classes still with column large 8 and align self baseline, and here we need to add a paragraph with classes text white and then 7.5, font weight then light and MB5, and of course inside here we need to add the text programming knowledge can help you build better application by just following video tutorials. You can be whatever you want. Whatever you want to be. There you go. And then inside this div also we need to add a link with class btn and then btn primary, primary and btn xl and js scroll trigger, and the target is the about section of our page. And then let's just put in find out more. There you go. So let us save our file for now, or the index.html, and let's go back to our browser. Okay, so this is our index.html file. We have the logo, and we have the menus at the right, about, services, portfolio, contact, and we also have the h1 that we have added, your favorite source of free video tutorials, and the text, of course, and of course the button that we have added, or the link with the class btn. So in the previous tutorial, we have added the menus and the masthead for our website. So if we try to preview our website in our browser, we can see that we have the nice looking website, or basic website, that is responsive. So if we try to resize our window, we can see that our layout would respond to the size of our browser window. So if you try to click on this hamburger icon, the menus will be hidden, and if you try to click on this hamburger icon, the menus will be shown. So in this particular tutorial, we will be working on with this index.html file, and we will be adding the other components of our website. So let's go ahead and head back to our code editor and add some elements to this particular code. So we have here the about section of our page. Let's add a section, and this particular section will have the class of page section, and we have the background primary, and of course the ID of this section will be the about. So again, this will be the target for our menus, because we set the target of our about section into the ID of about, which is our section, or the ID of our section. Okay, and inside here we will be adding a new div with the class container, and in here we need to define another div with a class row, and justify content center, and another div that will hold our column. So that will be column large 8, and of course the text will be center, or aligned at the center of our division. And the next one will be, we will be adding the h2 tag, and inside this we need to type in we have got what you need, and this should have a class for transforming or making the text into white, and of course we need to set the margin of the top into 0, and then right below this we need to add a horizontal rule, or HR, with a class divider light, and then set the margin of top and bottom into size 4. And then below this line we need to add a paragraph class, or paragraph element, with class text white 50 and mb4, and inside this paragraph we need to type in programming knowledge as everything you need to get you started. Browse our awesome collection of video tutorials. Next, we need to add a button for this. So let's use a link with the target as the services section of our page. So this particular element or link element has the class of btn, btn Lite, and btn XL, and of course the JS scroll trigger for our button. And then of course this will have the get started text, get started, and then whenever we click on this button, it should scroll to the services section of our page. Okay, so let's try to preview our page. Let's go back to our browser, refresh our page. So try to scroll down. We have this another uh, section, which is the about section of our page. So let's add another section, which is the services section of the website. So let's go back to our editor, and inside here we need to add another section. Of course, this section will have the classes of page section, and of course the ID of this again will be services. Okay, then again the div for our container, and h2 for the text at your service. Anyway, you could always put your text here, but in my case I have to stick with the at your service because this is the service section of the page or the website that I'm trying to create. So the h2 classes will be text center, and we have the margin at the top is 0, and define an HR here with class divider. Okay, and we have setting the margin of top and bottom size for another div for our row, and another div that will hold the column, which is column large 3, column medium 6, and the center or the text should be aligned at the center of this particular div. And inside this we have to set another division with mt5 as the class, and I element with class fa, which stands for our font awesome icon, and we need to set the size or increase the size of our icon 4 times. So fa and then 4x. fa, the icon is gem, and of course this will have a color for our text as primary, and margin bottom equals 4, or the size is 4, and it needs to have this h3 element with class h4 mb-2. It should have the text rare videos, and below this is the paragraph with class text muted and mb0, and high quality video tutorials. Okay, high quality video tutorials for free. Save our file index.html, and let's go back to our browser. So let's just try to refresh this, and we have another section at your service. So it has this nice looking icon gem with rare videos as the text, and we also have this nice description of this item. But I think we need to add more items to this services section, because at the original site we have, I think, 4 different items in this particular section. We have already added the first element or the first item. We just have to duplicate it. So all we have to do is copy this section, or copy this element or item, and then paste for the second item, third, and fourth item. And we also need to change the text of this into up to date. And of course, the text will be, or the description is, all new technology, we got you covered. And next is ready to share. The description is, you can share our videos for free. The last one will be, instead of rare videos, it has to be made with love. And of course, the description is, we poured our hearts into this tutorials. Okay, and of course we need to change the icons for this. So instead of gem, it has to be the laptop code for this, and then the next one will be, instead of the gem, it should be globe icon, and of course the last one is the heart icon. Let's try to save our file and refresh our page. So refresh, and then we have the items that we have added. We have the up to date, we have ready to share, and we have the last one, which is the made with love, and with all the descriptions under it. So as you can see, we have a responsive items for this section. So if you try to resize the window, it will be, or the items will reflect the changes that we have made in the size of our window. So in the previous tutorial, we have added different elements, different sections in our responsive website. So we have added this call to action section, and also this about section of our page. So what we're gonna do now is to add the portfolio section of our website. So in order for us to do that, let's go back to our code editor and add the elements that needed to finish our web page. So we have this area here for our portfolio section. So we're going to be adding the section for our portfolio, and it should have the ID portfolio. So section, and then it should have the ID portfolio. Yes. And then inside this section, we need to add a class with, or I mean a div with a class container, and then fluid, and it should have a padding set to 0. Also inside here, we need to add a div with row and no gutters classes. Another div, column large 4, call sm6, There you go. And of course we need to add a link with the image portfolio as the href. So full size. This is gonna be an image coming from our img folder. So one.jpg or jpg. And then of course we need this to have the class of fluid or image fluid. img dash fluid. So you could add your alt text. Okay. If you want to add a alternative text or alternate text for this link, you can add alternate text. And of course, we need to add a div with portfolio dash box caption. This is going to be the caption of our image for our portfolio. So inside this, we need also to have the project category, class, and text should be white. Okay, and then this should be category, and of course we need to have the div for our project name. So this should be project dash name. Okay, and of course the text project name. So let's go ahead, save our file, and try to preview our page. So refresh. Okay, so again we see the project name here, and then the category text. So we're just gonna troubleshoot this later on, and then just add the other elements for this particular section portfolio. Okay, so if you're wondering what we're trying to achieve here, let's look at the live version of, or the finished version or complete version of our website. So this is the portfolio section. So if you try to hover over this item, you can see the category, the project name, and the same with the other items. So there should be 6 items for our portfolio section. So in order for us to do that, let's go back to our editor and add the remaining 5 elements or projects for this portfolio section. So we have added the first element, which is this one, and let's just go ahead and copy and paste this source code from this div class column large 4. So you can see that it has this closing tag right here. So we'll just copy this. So 2, 3, 4, and 5, and let's go back, save our index.php, and go back to our browser. So refresh, and then we have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're missing 1. So after this, another one, and save and refresh. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So as you can see, this particular section looks nothing like the original. So if you try to see the original here, so let's try to debug or troubleshoot this in our code. So in here we need to make some changes. So we have the a or the link and having the class image fluid. So instead of this a or the link, we need to have the image element, and then of course we have to add this href to this source, and then alternate text. So instead of making this or having this image fluid, it should be portfolio box. So portfolio dash box, and we can just remove this alternate text attribute of this link element. So instead, we need to add the class here for our image element. We need to add the class img fluid, or stands for image fluid, and we need to make some changes also. The last change that we're gonna make is we need this link to include all the elements inside this division or div. So we're gonna be doing the same for all the elements. So let's just copy this image element and of course paste this here and make this into this class. For the link, it should be portfolio box also. So portfolio dash box, and of course again we need to include all the elements of this div with the class column large 4. And also we're going to be changing the number of the image. It should be number 2. Okay, and let's just add the project name should be 2 also. And the same with this element, or with the same with this entry in our portfolio section. So add the image class or image element, and we need to change this into 3 and change this class into portfolio box, the same with what we have done at the top of this one. So portfolio box, and okay, so and then remove this closing link. So instead there it should be here. So we're just closing the A or the href, or I mean the link tag here. Okay, and then project name should be 3, and of course the same with this entry also. So it should be 4, and the class for the link is portfolio box. There you go. And instead of closing it there, so you should close it here. So div, or I mean link, closing link tag. The same with here, we need to make this project name 4 so we could see the difference, or which element or which entry is the project 4, project 3, or 2, or 1. And also in here, the class of course is portfolio box, portfolio dash box. So it should be 5, and here it should be 5 also. So project name 5, and I think we're missing another entry, so let's just copy and paste all this elements, and instead of 5 it should be 6, of course 6, and project name 6. So save index.html file, so refresh. Okay, so there you go, we have the entries to our portfolio section. So this should be the project name 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so we have now the nice looking entries for our portfolio section. So in the previous tutorials, we have added different sections for our website. So we have added the logo or the site name at the top, and also with the menus at the right with the about, services, portfolio, and contact menus. So if we try to scroll down, we can see that we have another sections or different sections, and also our menu bar or header. We can see that it changed color into white, and we have this big section, your favorite source of previous tutorials, and then we have the description and also the button to find out more about the website. And also we have this section and another section for our services, and also another section. This is what we have worked in the previous tutorial. In the fourth video, we have worked on this part to add the categories and the projects. We have added 6 projects for this particular section. And in this tutorial, we will be working on to add the call to action section of our website. Okay, so here we are at our code editor, and we can see that we have already added our navigation section. We have also the masthead, the about section of our page, and also the services section. And from the previous tutorial, or the fourth video, which is we have worked on the portfolio section. So in this particular video, we will be working on with this call to action section. So to start with, we will be adding elements to this section. So we'll start off by typing in the section element, and then it should have a class page section and background dark, and of course the text should be white. And inside this section, we will be adding another element, which is div, and it should have a class container and another class text center to align the text, or to align the elements of this division to center. After that, we will be adding the heading element, or h2 tag, and of course it has its own classes. So, or I mean class. So MB4. So again, if you're not familiar with these classes, you have to check with the Bootstrap documentation. But this class is for the spacing of this particular element. So it has, or this particular element should have a margin, or margin bottom should be equal to 4. So after that, inside this heading tag, we will be typing in the text, which is free video tutorials there. And of course, below this line, we need to add a button, and then we're going to be using the link element. And before we type in the classes, let's type in the display text, which is the download now. Okay, and for the classes, we will be adding different classes for this. So btn, and then btn light, and of course the size will be XL. So we'll check for this classes. Say for example this btn, btn light, and btn XL. Okay, so for now, let's just save our index.html and let's try to preview our page. So let's go back to our browser and try to refresh the page. Okay, so refresh. Then we should have this particular section, free video tutorials, and the button download now. Actually, you could add different elements or different, so for example, description for this. So free video tutorials, let's try to add a description under the free video tutorials. Okay, so let's head back to our code editor and add something below this free video tutorials text. Okay, so here we are at our code, and then let's just add a divider in this. So HR and the classes should be divider, and also it has to be, or it should have the light and my or my-4 classes. So save our index.html and go back to our browser and refresh. So we have the divider now, okay, by using the HR element. So we'll just add a description. So for the description, let's just add a paragraph element, and then the classes should be text white, text dash white dash 50, and margin bottom should have the size 4, and for the text it should have maybe you can have high quality video tutorials for absolutely free. Okay, save our index.html, and let's go back to our browser and then refresh. So there you go, we have a very nice looking description for our call to action section. So free video tutorials, and then we have the divider, and also the description. You can have high quality video tutorials for absolutely free. You can download now. Okay, so now let's check the classes for this download now button, as we have talked about a while ago. So in order for us to inspect the classes and the CSS for this button, we need to go to our tools, more tools, and then developer tools. We could click on this icon, select an element in the page to inspect it. So click on this and click the element button. So we have this BTN, BTN Lite, and BTN-XL, and the download now text. So for the BTN XL, we have this rules for the formatting of our button element, or the the linked element with the BTN-XL class. So padding set to 1.25 rem, font size 0.85, font weight 700, text transform, border none, and so on. So it also has this BTN class which set the font family for this particular button, and of course we have the BTN-Lite which set the color or the text color into this value, 21, 25, and 29 for the color of the text, and then the background color is F8, F9, F8. And if you want to change the values, or if you want to change the colors for this button, you can always check on the creative.css file, and perhaps you want to change the font color, the background color of the button. You could always change this on the creative.css file. Okay, so I think we're down to the last section of our page and the last video of this particular video tutorial series. So we already have the masthead, we already have the navigation of our page, and we also have the about section, we also have the services section, and also the portfolio section. And from the previous tutorial, or from the fifth tutorial, we have added this call to action section, so free video tutorials and the description, and also the divider, and we also inspected the markup or the styling for this download now button. So as I've said, we'll be working on with the contact section of this particular page, and I'm gonna walk you through all the steps so that you could add the contact section for this particular page. And towards the end of this video, I'll be giving you some tricks or a few tricks and tips so that you could jumpstart your learning on this Bootstrap technology. So make sure to finish the video and some of the important things to remember while learning the Bootstrap technology. So for now, let's go back to our code editor and let's work on adding the contact section of our page. So for the contact section of our page, we will be adding the section element. So section element. Okay, and this section should have the classes page section, and of course the ID will be contact. So again, the purpose of this ID contact is for us to target this particular section when we try to click on the menus at the top of our page. So when we try to click on the contact menu, and then the page should scroll down to this contact section. So that's it. And inside this section, we will be adding the div, which has the class of container. And also, we need to add another div for our rows. So div, and it has a class row with justify content or justify dash content center. Okay. And inside here, we will be adding another div. So the class for this should be column large 8 and also text center to align the text into the center of this particular element. And of course, we'll be adding the h2 element, and it should have the text get or let's get in touch. The h2 element should have a class empty-0, so margin top 0. Next, we will be adding a divider using again the HR element. So HR, and of course the classes for this are divider and of course my-4, and the description or the text for this contact form, it should have the class text muted and of course mb-5. The text is this: ready to start your next project. You could anyway put in your own text for this particular paragraph tag. So if you want to change the text, you could put in your own description. So for my case, I'll just stick to this description. Ready to start your next project with us. Give us a call or send us an email, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Okay. So text muted mb-5, ready to start your next project with us. Give us a call or send us an email. And for this particular point in time, we'll just save the index.html file, and let's try to preview our page. Okay, so this is the page or the website, and then let's just refresh and try to see. Here we have the partial preview of our contact page or contact section of our page. So let's get in touch. So the divider, and then ready to start your next project with us. The description of our contact section. So let's continue working on with this particular section, the contact section. So let's go back to our code. Next, we will be adding another div. So right after this div with class row, we will be adding another div. of course, it should have the row class also. And inside this, another div with class column or call large 4, and then ml dash photo, and then the another one is text dash center. So inside this, we need to define a I element. So class fa phone. So this is gonna be holding the icon for this contact page. So fa3x mb-3, and the text is muted. So another thing is the div with let's just remove the class for this div. So inside this div, we will be typing in the number. So for example, the number is -1. This is just a demo number. So 55-0149. So 555 dash, and there we have the phone number for this page. Okay, and another div for the email of our page. So inside the row after this div, we're gonna be adding another div for our email. So class column large 4 mr-auto, and text is centered, and let's just copy this. So I class fa, instead of phone, it should be an envelope because this is representing the email of our contact section. So fa or font awesome envelope fa3x mb-3 text muted, and after this line we will be adding a link. So the link should go to mail to dash or colon contact at, say for example, your website.com. So this is just a test. You could go ahead, put in your real email if you want. So for my case, I'll just use this for educational purposes. So programming knowledge, say for example, programming knowledge at gmail.com or something like that. And the class for this link, let's just add the d-block. Okay, so save our index.html file, and let's go back to our browser and try to refresh and try to preview the contact form of this particular page. Okay, so this is the contact section of our page. Let's just refresh, and then there you go. We have this let's get in touch, and of course we're displaying the number with the font awesome icon for the phone, and font awesome icon for our email, which is this envelope, and displaying the email. So I think we have already added the different sections of our page, and the last thing that we're gonna be adding is the footer section. So as you can see, after the contact section, we don't have the footer just yet. So let's go ahead and add the footer section for this page. Let's go back to our code editor. We're just gonna add the footer element. Okay, so this footer element should have the class background or bg light. Okay, and then py-5 stands for padding up and or bottom and top, and the size is 5. And of course, inside the footer class, or I mean the footer element, we need to add the divider or the div with the class container. And inside this div, we're going to be adding another div with class small. Then the center or the text will be centered and it should be muted. And inside here, let's just type in copyright and of course the copy symbol or the copyright symbol, and then the year, and of course, for example, programming knowledge. Okay, so let's save this and preview our page. Refresh. Okay, so there you go. We have the footer copyright with the copyright symbol and 2018, and then the site name, or for my case, the programming knowledge. Okay, so I think this concludes the 6 video video series on how to create mobile responsive website using the Bootstrap framework. So I'm going to be giving you a few tips on how to jumpstart your learning on this framework. So the first thing that you're going to need is to familiarize the grid system of the Bootstrap. So I think familiarization of the Bootstrap grid system gives you more flexibility in working with this particular framework. The next thing is to familiarize the spacing capability of Bootstrap. So you have to be familiar on how to set the padding, set the margins with different locations or different, so for example, top or bottom or left or right. So being familiar with this makes your life easier working with the Bootstrap framework. So the next thing is you have to be familiar with the classes of Bootstrap framework. So there are many classes inside the Bootstrap framework. You have to be familiar and you have to make sure to experiment with these different classes and different elements so you could understand how each of the element works. Okay, so this concludes this tutorial and I hope you learned something from this video. Thanks.